past Saturday I was at a conference, and I began by asking, it was just this last Saturday, I began by asking if everyone knew what day it was, and they said, yes, it's the first Saturday. But I then said yes, but it was also an important anniversary. That is, it was the 1 month anniversary of Lent, which is not necessarily a joyful occasion because a lot of them groaned when I said that, but specifically because I, for one, probably many of you here may be experiencing Lenten fatigue, that the sufferings and difficulties that crop up as part of God's love during Lent is a time of purification because it's just a law of human nature. It's a law of the spiritual life that suffering, if we accept it lovingly, can actually transform us and deepen conversion in our lives. So if we're experiencing some of that Lenten fatigue because of some of that sandpaper on us as the Lord's trying to help us in this season of conversion, if that's wearing on us, in today's first reading, I think, can be a good help to us. And the reason I say that is the image there is really quite beautiful. When you have Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they're in a fire, right? They're in a white hot furnace that's been prepared for them as a form of persecution, out of hatred from this king, as hatred from someone else. And they're in this white hot furnace. They're surrounded by the flames, which represent in some ways the anger and the hatred of this king for them. And yet they're not burned. And that's an important image, I think, or can be an important image for us during the season of Lent, because sometimes when we are experiencing sufferings and the trials of everyday life, but particularly of Lent, we can feel like they are at the point of consuming us or burning us and causing us to want to cry out and shout even, or to lose our peace. And the image of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is a reminder for us that even in the midst of the greatest trials, even in the midst of the hottest flames, even in the midst of adversity, the peace of Christ should not leave our hearts. This is part of the freedom that we hear about in today's gospel, that Christ is the Lord. He's our Savior. God is our Father, as we also read about today. We don't just have Abraham as our father, but we have God as our Father. And that should be a bedrock of peace for us as we go through the trials of life, as we go through the trials of Lent. So we can remember that image of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as we feel the flames sort of burning us in some ways in the various forms during Lent. But to keep that interior peace, to hold on to the word of Christ that sets us free and keeps us from giving in to the turmoil, but rather where we're able to patiently endure the sufferings that Christ allows us to bear for our good and for our sanctification. May He give us that grace to bear our crosses with the peace of Christ and with fruitfulness and love.